So you're thinking of moving to either Temecula or Murrieta and you cannot decide where to live. I'm gonna give you the pros and cons, Temecula versus Murrieta, and where I think you should move based on those factors. Stay tuned. So let me start off by saying Temecula and Murrieta are basically border each other. So they're very, very close to each other in proximity. Temecula is bordering the San Diego County, and in fact, Temecula is the last city in Riverside County. Before going south, you're gonna reach San Diego. If you're coming north from San Diego, you're gonna hit Temecula first. That's the first city in Riverside County. And then as you move north up the 15 freeway, the next city you're going to hit is Murrieta. If you live in Murrieta or Temecula, I mean, they're very, very similar cities in the fact that the proximity, like I said, very close together. If you live in Murrieta, you're probably gonna go to restaurants in Temecula. You're probably gonna go to the mall in Temecula. But if you're far on the north side of Murrieta, getting over to the south side of Temecula could be, you know, a 25, 30-minute drive, maybe even a little more if you've got a lot of traffic. So just wanna start by saying that, you know, Temecula and Murrieta are very, very similar, and they're very, very close together as far as geographically. Let's start first with affordability, Temecula versus Murrieta. There's not much of a competition here when it comes to getting more home for your money. You're gonna get more in Murrieta. Murrieta is quite a bit more affordable than Temecula is. Your money's gonna go further if you buy something in Temecula. Now, obviously, things can vary as far as size of home, size of the lot, but all in all things considered, Murrieta is quite a bit more affordable than Temecula. So in regards to, you know, price points in Temecula and Murrieta, for example, if you're gonna buy a newer 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo in the heart of Temecula, that's probably gonna run you closer to the 500,000, mid 500,000 mark. If you're gonna buy that very similar type of condo in Murrieta, you're gonna be closer to the mid to higher 400,000 range. So a lot of what you'll see is the properties for the same exact style, you're gonna be able to get the same thing in Murrieta, maybe $50,000 to $100,000 cheaper. Same goes for homes. If you've got, you know, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home in Temecula, that maybe is around 600,000. You could probably find a very similar home in Murrieta for closer to 550, you know, low 500 range. All right, let's talk about school districts, Temecula versus Murrieta. Now, again, I gotta say, these are very, very similar when it comes to school rankings, and you can do the research for yourself. Don't just trust me. I'll put some links down below so you can take a look at it. But when it comes to school rankings, both Temecula and Murrieta have great school districts, but I will say, based on what I'm seeing as far as rankings, Temecula does have just a few more higher ranked schools than Murrieta does. But to be honest, Murrieta, Temecula, you really can't go wrong either way. But if I have to give a nod to one or the other, Temecula's is probably a little bit better school district as far as how they are ranked. All right, let's say you have to commute. Which is a better city to live in? Well, I guess that really depends where your job is, where you have to commute to. If you are coming from San Diego, let's say you're moving from San Diego, where we get a lot of people coming this way for more affordable housing, Temecula is going to be an easier commute for you. Murrieta, depending on where you live in Murrieta, is more than likely going to be an extra 15, 20 minutes, you know, up the freeway from San Diego than you would if you lived in Temecula. So if you're coming from LA, you're moving from LA, your job is still in LA area, you're more than likely going to need to be living in Murrieta if you want to have a little bit shorter commute. That's going to take an extra 15, 20 minutes off your commute if you're going to LA area. Even if maybe you are commuting to Orange County area, Murrieta is going to be a little bit more north, and that's going to shorten the commute for you. So not really necessarily one over the other. It just more depends on where you're commuting to. If you're commuting east or you know, more towards the 60 freeway, you know, it really doesn't matter. Temecula and Murrieta are pretty much about the same going that way. I mean, I think Murrieta still might be a little bit closer if you're heading east. In regards to commute, just really depends where you're going to. What about things to do in the city? This one is pretty one-sided in my opinion. Temecula has more restaurants. It has the mall, it's got multiple movie theaters, it's got the Old Town Temecula, which has a ton of bars and restaurants and things to do. Even though Murrieta does have an Old Town district, that hasn't even touched what Old Town Temecula is as of yet. I do think that Murrieta, Old Town Murrieta is going to be up and coming, but I think we're still probably a good 10 years before, you know, that even really starts kicking off and really start seeing a lot of construction and stuff there. And I think a lot of that also depends on which way the economy heads over the next, you know, 5 years or so. That might push out growth 10, 15, 20 years down the line before we really see Old Town Murrieta catch up to anything close to what Temecula Old Town looks like. And then on top of that, as far as entertainment, Temecula has all the wineries. If you live in Temecula, you're going to be quite a bit closer to all the wineries. Murrieta doesn't really have any of that. Now, Murrieta does have some things to do, some restaurants, but as far as things to do in the city without having to travel very far, Temecula definitely is the winner on that one. All right, when it comes to traffic and population, Murrieta versus Temecula, where do we stand? Believe it or not, Murrieta actually has a slightly higher population than Temecula, and I think for now, Temecula's infrastructure is maybe a little bit better than Murrieta, but Murrieta, Wildomar, and then as you get closer to Menifee, I kind of feel like things are a little more congested when it comes to traffic when you're on Murrieta Hot Springs, even Los Alamos Road, getting on and off of Scott Road and Clinton Keith as you get a little further north. Those all seem to be a little bit more congested. They're both not super great on traffic when it comes to, you know, rush hour, but for the most part, I would say Murrieta has slightly worse traffic than Temecula. And like I said, the population in Murrieta is slightly higher, so that seems to make sense. Both cities are making strides to try to improve that, but the cities are growing like crazy. More people means more vehicles, more traffic. Now, I personally live in Temecula. I live in Temecula proper. I only live about 2-minute drive from the mall. I live in a beautiful area called Harveston. It's a lake community, and it actually borders the Temecula-Murrieta boundaries. So while I do live in Temecula, literally I could ride my bike 2 minutes away and I could be into Murrieta. Where I'm located is also where the 15 and 215 freeways kind of merge together. If you're going south, they come together. If you're going north, they split apart. I prefer Murrieta as far as somewhere to live, again, mainly because of all the things that there are to do. Like I mentioned, with the wineries, Old Town, it's all a little bit closer in proximity if you do live in Temecula. However, I mean, there are a ton of beautiful neighborhoods in Murrieta, and again, when you're talking about what you can get for your, you know, making your dollar stretch further or getting more home for your dollar, there's a lot of attractive neighborhoods in Murrieta that, you know, I would strongly consider moving to if, you know, I could do everything over again. Especially if you're looking for something like a pool home, or you're looking for a property that has a lot of land, you're definitely going to be able to get more of that in Murrieta at a lower price point. Now, is one town better than the other? I really think at the end of the day, it just boils down to what you need in a home and in an area. Maybe you can't stretch the budget quite as much, but you need to have a bigger home or a pool. You might want to stay in the Murrieta area because you're going to be able to probably get all of those things within your budget, whereas Temecula, it might be a bigger stretch. Again, when you talk about commute, if you're commuting more to the north, you might want to stay in Murrieta because it's going to shave 15, 20, 30 minutes off of your drive. If you're commuting south, you might want to be in Temecula. If you got a little bit more money to spend and you're looking to be closer to the action, closer to the mall, closer to all those things, then you're probably going to want to be in Temecula. Now, there's two areas that I'll touch on briefly in this video, because this is kind of Temecula versus Murrieta when it comes to the high price neighborhoods. There's two areas that are very similar to each other, but they're on opposite ends of the 15 freeway, and that is Duluth, which Duluth is going to be on the west side of the 15 freeway, kind of up in the hills. And this is kind of a higher priced Canyon Hills type of topography up there where you've got really big $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million homes and up, versus La Cresta, which is this very similar type of neighborhood, but it's in Murrieta, where again you're going to see homes in the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million and up range. You know, when it comes to those type of neighborhoods, you know, it's really more what you're looking for, but the price points of those two neighborhoods in Murrieta and Temecula are going to be very similar for what you get as far as acreage, the type of home, and you know, location's obviously a little different because La Cresta is located off the 15 freeway, again on the west side of the 15 freeway, kind of up in the hills. The biggest difference I would say is Duluth is going to be a little more lush. The vegetation's a little different. You're heading more towards San Diego County, more towards the beach that way, whereas La Cresta, you're going to get a lot more oak trees, you're going to get a lot more desert scape, a little drier over there, but the price points are very similar, even though, you know, one's in Murrieta, one's in Temecula. So I hope this video helps. If you need anything from me, if you're thinking about moving out here, whether it's next month or 3 years from now, you know how to contact me. All my information's below. Feel free to reach out. I'm always here to help you, answer your questions, take you out to look at some properties, whatever you need from me, feel free to reach out. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button. You're gonna have a lot more content just like this to keep you informed on all the best stuff regarding Temecula and Murrieta, everything to do with real estate here locally. Till next time, thanks for watching.